Hare Krishna. So thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
I'm very, very excited to be with all of you today. Old enough to know better and young enough to do it anyway. So the idea is that typically most of us, we are aware of what is needed to be done. However, what is interesting is that we somehow or the other find a reason to bypass or to overlook that which is necessary. So, old people, the older generation, they are wise, and the wisdom is they know what is favorable and what is unfavorable. Unfortunately, the need to follow that or to accept that which is favorable is sometimes lacking because of the mind being distracted. And typically, when one is young, that is when one finds. So, just give me Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare. Sorry for the interruption. So that is why we chose this topic, just to help us understand the challenges that one faces when the mind becomes distracted. Let me tell you a story. So, then decides to go to an astrologer. The astrologer looks at his chart, and he tells him that actually everything seems to be all right in your chart. So it seems that your anxiety is because of your mind troubling you. So I suggest that you go and understand the Bhagavad Gita from a self-realized soul, from an acharya. And then try to implement it in your life. This would help you solve all your anxiety, and that is my humble advice. So the rich man, he decides to he goes searching for a self-realized soul, an acharya. He finds one. So he explains to him the reason of his visit. So the teacher, the acharya, he said, no problem, definitely we could work on this. So let us start reading the Bhagavad Gita and understanding it. So the man asked him that how much time would it take? So he said the whole book is of 18 chapters, so it would be done in about 3 months. The rich man said, oh no, Swamiji, I'm so busy with many things. So could you teach me the most important part of the Bhagavad Gita? So the teacher, he said, that's okay. You can just learn the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, and you'll understand the gist of the Bhagavad Gita. And this will take about 2 weeks. The man said, oh, even 2 weeks is so difficult, So can you teach me something more simple? So the teacher said, okay, we'll just try to learn one shloka, one verse from the 18th chapter, verse which begins with the statement, Sarva Dharman Parityajya. 18th chapter, verse 66. And if you just learn this one shloka, then you'll understand the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. So the man was listening to him, and he said, the rich man, that even one shloka is so difficult for me to learn. Can you please teach me something more simple? So the Acharya said, yes, in this verse, there are two words that are most important. Ma suchaha. So maybe we should just learn this. So he said, what is the meaning of this? These words. So the Acharya said, these words mean do not worry. So ma suchaha, do not worry. Now this is very interesting. We'll come to the rest of the story after some time. But this particular verse in the Bhagavad Gita is not the only place where Krishna says that do not worry. In fact, in the second chapter itself, Krishna was trying to explain to Arjuna that his lamentation was not proper, because Arjuna was very much distressed, and he was in deep lamentation. So Krishna told him, Asocyanan vasochastvam prajnavadamscha bhasashe gatasona gatasonscha nanusochanti panditaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for that which is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor the dead. Those who are wise lament, or they do not worry for either the living or the dead. So, he's telling Arjuna that stop worrying about that which is not worthy of worrying, and stop lamenting for that which is not worthy of lamentation. So where does this worry come from? It comes from the identification with the material body. And according to the Vedic literatures, we have taken many material bodies. We have taken many births, and in each of those births, we have gone through old age, disease, and finally death. However, the identification with the material body gives us the facility of the senses, and when we use our senses, we start thinking that we are the controllers. And when we try to control things, then we find that it is not always easy, and the more difficult it is, the more we are in anxiety, and the more we are in anxiety, the more we get bewildered. Hence, right from the second chapter, Krishna is telling Arjuna to stop worrying about unnecessary things. In another place, he tells Arjuna, Natvam sochitam arhasi, gatasona gatasonscha, nanu sochitam pandita. Just as in the previous verse he says, nanu sochitam. Similarly, another verse he says, Natvam sochitam arhasi. There is no reason for you to worry. And finally, in the 18th chapter, he tells Arjuna, do not worry. There he is trying to tell Arjuna that if you surrender unto me, giving up all anxiety, giving up all other varieties of worldly religiosity, worldly dharma, and take complete shelter of me, then I will protect you, and I will lead you to the ultimate success. Do not worry, Arjuna. I will release you from all bonds. So, ma sucha. So when we read the Bhagavad Gita or when we hear the message of Lord Krishna from those who have either realized the message or those who understand the message of the Bhagavad Gita, when we hear from them, the message is very clear. The instruction is very clear that one should give up all kinds of anxiety. And how does one give up all kinds of anxiety? By becoming totally dependent on Krishna. However, being habituated to always worry about the lack of opulences or comforts, the lack of opportunities, especially when we see others possessing it, it becomes difficult to not be distracted, to not worry about what we do not have, to not worry about how we can achieve our goals in life, especially in terms of material happiness. So even after being assured by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita that do not worry, ma suchaha, do not worry, we somehow or the other make worrying a part of our material existence. It becomes a part of our nature. And such kind of anxiety and such kind of worry reflects some lacking in faith and some lacking in taking shelter. So we have to find this inclination, the determination, and the faith to take shelter of the holy names of the Lord, to take shelter of the message of the scriptures. In other words, we have to accept Sharanagati. Sharanagati means taking shelter of Krishna. The more we take shelter of Krishna, the more we cultivate the desire to become completely surrendered to Krishna. Mam ekam sharanam vraja, as Krishna says. The result would be more fearlessness and freedom from anxiety. However, this is only possible if we make honest endeavors. Otherwise, it is difficult. So, in utmost honesty, we have to try and adopt this principle that has been given in the Bhagavad Gita. So, we see the rich man has come to become free from worry, and he was not able to give time into understanding the 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita because it would take 3 months. He couldn't even give time, couldn't give 2 weeks of time to understand the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, just one chapter. He felt that even one verse was too much. He wasn't finding the determination or finding the enthusiasm to go through even one verse of the Bhagavad Gita. So finally, he was given this option that just try and understand these 2 words, ma sucha, do not worry. In the modern stories, very popular stories that are spoken of or have been told and retold by great personalities, we find so many wonderful lessons to be learned. One such story is about a goat. Actually, a little goat. The baby goat is called a kid. So, a baby goat. In this story, the whole community of goats had gone grazing, eating grass in far-off lands. It was kind of a forested area with many wild animals. So the elders of the community, the goat community, seeing that the sun was about to set, much prior to the setting of the sun, they retraced back their steps. They sent word to the entire community that let us go back, because the sun is about to set and the forest, the jungle becomes dangerous for goats during twilight time and in the night, in the darkness. One baby goat somehow was caught up in a bush and trying to free itself from the bush. It fell behind. So the rest of the goat community had already left, and the baby goat was all alone. And slowly, it was twilight. It tried its utmost to find its way out of the forest. However, the baby goat lost its way. Finally, happened to come to a lake. Beautiful lake. However, this wasn't the way back, or this wasn't home. So, understanding that it was lost, the baby goat lay down, decided to rest besides the water of the lake. So, in the on the banks of the lake, in the wet mud, it found some pug marks, the footprints of a lion. The baby goat had no idea what footprints it were. So she lay down besides those pug marks, besides those prints. Slowly, darkness came in, and the wild carnivorous animals were moving around. So, jackals, hyenas, tigers, they were looking around for food. And one by one, each of this carnivore came to the lake, and they saw the baby goat. And as they were about to pounce on the baby goat, the goat warned them that just look at this footprint. And I've taken shelter of this footprint. So be careful. So when the jackal and the hyena and the tiger, they saw the footprint of the lion, they got scared. They're like, oh, it seems that the lion is friends with the baby goat, and the goat has taken shelter of the lion. None of them wanted to cross path with the lion, so that they let the baby goat be. And the baby goat survived. Towards dawn, the lion himself came to the lake. Seeing the baby goat there, the lion was surprised. How come you're sitting here all alone by yourself, little baby? And the baby goat said, well, the baby goat had seen that people are afraid of that footprint. So the baby goat said that, do you know this footprint? I've taken shelter of this footprint. So the lion realized that it is its own footprint. And the lion was surprised that, and at the same time, the lion felt that if the baby goat has so much of faith in my footprint without even knowing who I am, then it is my duty to give protection because I am the king of the jungle. So the lion immediately felt very protective towards the baby goat. There is a beautiful couplet that has been written in Prakrit Bhasha, in one of the local dialects in India, with respect to this incident. And I'm going to recite that now. खोज पकड़ सैठे रहो, धनी मिलेंगे आज, अजया गज मस्तक चढ़े, निर्भय कोंपल खाए, निर्भय कोंपल खाए. So, according to this statement, if one takes shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is all powerful, खोज पकड़ सैठे रहो, then one is protected from all kinds of miseries. One receives freedom from all kinds of anxieties. Just as Ajaya Gajamastak Chadhe, the goat climbed onto the head of an elephant, Nirbhay Kumpal Khai, and from that vantage point would eat the sweet or very, very tasty leaves from the tall trees, overhanging branches of the tall trees. So what is the reference here? So when the lion saw that the baby goat had so much faith in his footprint, the lion felt very protective. And in the morning, when a gaja, an elephant, came to drink water from the lake, the lion told the elephant that, you know who I am, and you know my prowess. So this is my friend, the baby goat. I want you to lift up the goat onto your back and take it around the forest and let the goat enjoy in whichever way the goat wants. So the elephant lifted up the baby goat onto its back, and then the baby goat was standing on the back of the elephant so high above the ground and could reach out to the overhanging branches of the tall trees and eat all the juicy leaves. And in this way, the goat was very happy. So, Ajaya Gaja Mastaka Chadhe, Nirbhay Kompal Khai. Being completely fearless of any danger, the goat was happily eating the juicy leaves of the overhanging branches. So similarly, when a human takes the shelter of the Supreme Lord and finds a resting place at the Supreme Lord's lotus feet, then all kinds of challenges, distractions, anxieties, fear, etc. Simply go away, and the human becomes, such a sheltered human becomes completely fearless, because there is absolutely nothing in the world that could bring about or cause any harm to this human. In fact, the sheltered human can lead a very peaceful and happy life, an enjoyable existence. Hence, another couplet in this regards is wonderfully stated. This is in regards to another practical lesson that can be learned. Jo jako sharno gahe, ta kahu ta kila, ulte jal मछली चले Bahiyo jat Gajraj, Bahiyo jat Gajraj. When the flowing river is in spate, either in floods or because of excess water, so the powerful waters of the river wash away all that comes in its path. It simply takes everything that comes in its path and washes it away. In fact, even powerful elephants are not able to stand or keep balance when the waters in front of the surging waters of a river in spate. Even elephants can get washed away. Huge trees get uprooted and they get washed away. However, within these waters of the river, tiny fishes blissfully, completely unaware and unaffected to swim around in these very waters. The reason is that the powerful river has a lot of energy. Since the little fish or little fishes have taken shelter within the waters of the river, the power of the river does not affect them adversely. The prowess of the river does not affect them adversely because they have taken shelter of the waters of the river. Similarly, if we take shelter of Krishna, then by the mercy of Krishna, we are able to complete seemingly daunting tasks. We are able to find success in seemingly difficult tasks. Just as a very powerful person, if let's say a powerful wrestler has some weakness, some pain or some weak point within his physique, and if you know of the weak point, then one can easily defeat that powerful wrestler. Similarly, or one can easily capture the powerful wrestler. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very powerful. However, the weakness of the Lord is that He has a lot of love and affection for all the living entities. So if we are able to press down upon that quality of the Lord, it's not His weakness, it is His quality. So if we are able to access that quality of the Lord, access the love that the Lord has for every living entity, and take shelter of that quality of the Lord, then the Supreme Lord becomes completely captured by such a soul. And this process of capturing the attention of Krishna totally, completely towards oneself, this is called as Sharanagati. However, honesty, in utmost honesty, one must try to take shelter. And if one is not able to take shelter, the Supreme Lord, whoever we may be the most powerful of kings or the most powerful of warriors, material nature also knows our weakness, and material nature knows that we can easily be distracted by either fear or greed or anxiety or anger, and the material nature can easily capture us. So, Jo Jako Sharano Gahe, the kind of shelter that one takes, whatever shelter that one accepts in life, Takahu Takilaj. Now it is the responsibility of the personality that we have taken shelter to protect us. So if we take shelter of material nature, And the nature of material nature is that she always puts us into so many different trials and tribulations. Srila Prabhupada would say that Maya, or material nature, is a very harsh taskmaster. She really tests us in various ways. However, if we take shelter of Krishna, then Krishna now assures us of his protection. Ulte jal machli chale, bahiyo jaat gajraj. A fish can actually swim against the current of the river and do it easily. There are so many incidents of fishes actually going upstream with a little difficulty but much ease. However, the others are simply washed away by the current of the stream. So, Bahiyo Jata Gajaraj. Even powerful elephants can be easily swept away by the strong currents of a stream or a river. A fish which has taken shelter of the deep waters of the stream or river can easily swim whichever way it wants. So this is very important. So coming back to our story of the rich man. When the rich man, he heard about the two words as the solution to his problem of always being anxious, he said, Masucha, do not worry. So he said that simply by saying do not worry, it is not going to work. Because I have been telling myself a lot of times do not worry and still I am anxious. So just by telling do not worry will not help me. Please tell me what I should do to get rid of my anxiety. So again the man comes back to the same position. When he was offered the solution that one should read the entire Bhagavad Gita, he said no time. One chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, he said no time. One verse of the Bhagavad Gita, he said, can you teach me something more simple? And finally, when he is given these two words that Krishna is saying, do not worry, just take my shelter and I will protect you. Now it becomes my responsibility. Because you have taken shelter of me, it is my responsibility that I protect you in all respects. But the rich man was not able to understand it. Because he feels that do not worry are such simple words. And how is it going to help me? It's not possible that it can help me. So he says, can you teach me how not to worry? And that is what the teacher was trying to teach him, reading the Bhagavad Gita. So the rich man most probably is going to be caught in this loop. I do not want to worry. Please teach me. However, whatever you are offering as a solution to my problems is so difficult. Can you teach me something more simple? And finally, when the most simple of all, or the most, let us say, the essence of these teachings are offered, and the person is not able to understand how not to worry. And Krishna is explaining that the way not to worry is by taking shelter of Krishna. Unless and until one has developed that faith in Krishna, it will be very difficult to take shelter of Krishna. In the teachings of life given by great saints of the South, there is once a story of one of the Alvars who was trying to understand what Sharanagati means, was trying to meditate on it in different ways. So the Lord gave him an experience. He could understand the language of insects and birds and beasts. So he heard two ants talking. These two ants were on a mountain slope. So this was a holy place which was in the valley between two mountains. So he was on one mountain slope, this the saint, and there he heard two ants talking, little ants, and one ant was telling the other ant that I am going to be climbing to the top of the other mountain, the other side. I'm going to be crossing the valley and climb to the top, to the peak of the mountain in front of us. So his friend, the first ant or the second ant, could not believe this. The second ant said, "What? How are you going to do it?" Because for a tiny ant to walk down the mountain slope, cross the valley and climb up to the top of the opposite mountain, it would take thousands of years, would take forever. So the second ant just couldn't believe what he had heard. So the first ant challenged him that, "You don't believe me? So if I prove myself, then you have to start believing in me." So he said, "All right, if you prove yourself, then you'll be my guru." So right at that point of time, a tiger was going down the slope. So the ant clung onto the tiger's feet. The tiger did not even notice the ant. And the tiger went down the valley and climbed up the other mountainside. And finally the ant reached the peak. When the saint saw this, it convinced him of what is Sharanagati. The saint realized that each one of us is just like an ant, and we have an uphill task, trying to keep our mind free from distraction and trying to serve Krishna or chant his holy names with utmost attention. It is a very, very daunting task. But if we have the vision, if we have the conviction, if we know of a process by which it can be done, then it's possible. How can it be done? The saint realized that we have to take shelter of a powerful being, a being that has the energy and the prowess to immediately reach the goal. So Krishna is a supremely powerful being in the lives of all living entities, especially in the lives of devotees. And therefore, we have to find a way to put our faith in Krishna. There are certain tendencies that are not very helpful. These tendencies, they keep us distracted. They keep us least interested in Krishna consciousness, or they kind of agitate our mind. And what are some of these distractions? The very first distraction is fear of losing out, FOMO, very commonly used in today's times. Fear of missing out. Once Srila Prabhupada was asked by a devotee that, "Prabhupada, we are practicing Krishna consciousness, so if we live our entire life chanting Hare Krishna and we do it sincerely, and then we give up our body, what if there is no Krishna?" So Srila Prabhupada said, "Oh, are you happy practicing Krishna consciousness?" He said, "Yes, very happy." So he said that if at the end of life we find that there is no Krishna, at least we lived a very happy life in Krishna consciousness. And then Prabhupada, he raised his eyebrows and he said, "However, what if there is Krishna after giving up your body? What if there is actually Krishna?" So, not only do you live a very happy life in Krishna consciousness, but you also find Krishna at the end of this life. So this fear that if I practice Krishna consciousness, then what am I missing out on? Material enjoyment, or others seem to be so much more happy, or maybe, I'm not so happy, so on and so forth. So fear, bhaya. Then there is shoka or lamentation. Oh, just look at others, they have so much and I do not have. Or when will I have a little more than what I have today? I wish tomorrow, yesterday I had some facilities, but today even that is gone. And lamentation, shoka. Or it is also called as socha. To find reasons to cry about what we have lost in life. So that is another great distraction. And another distraction is pride. There is some achievement in life, and then we feel that we are better than others, or the other way around is that others are more worse off than us, and we feel proud of who we are. So these are various distractions. There are a few more. They are all called as anarthas, unwanted things in our life. Anarthas means that which does not really add value to our life. So it is very important that we put our faith in Krishna, and knowing that Krishna is all powerful, we try to simply, with great faith, take shelter of Krishna. And just by taking shelter of Krishna, fear will leave us. We'll find fearlessness in life. Just by taking shelter of Krishna, we'll become free from lamentation. And that is Krishna's advice too. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyam mokshayashyami ma sucha. There is a beautiful poem by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It is from a collection of poems that he has written called as Sharanagati, wherein he explains his desire in life. So we'll quickly go through this poem. Sarvasva tomar charane sampiya porechi tomar ghare tumito thakur tomar kukur boliya jana hamare bandhiya nikate amare palibe rohibo tomar dware Pratipajane re asite na dibo rakhibo godera pare. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying that now that I have surrendered all I possess, I fall prostrate before your house, my dear Lord. You are the Supreme Lord. Kindly consider me your household dog. Chain me nearby and maintain me as you will. I shall remain at your doorstep and allow no enemies to enter your house. I will keep them at the bounds of your moat surrounding your home. Tavani jana prasada seviya uchishta rakhi beja amara bhojana parama anande pratidina betaha poshiya shuya tomara charana Chintibo sototami nachite nikate jaibo jakho nodaki betumi. So whatever remnants your devotees leave behind after honoring your prasad will be my daily sustenance. I will feast on those remnants with great ecstasy. While sitting up, while lying down, I will constantly meditate on your lotus feet whenever you call. I will immediately run to you and dance in rapture. Finally, he says, Nijera poshana kabhuna bhavibo ruhibo bhavera bhore bhakoti vinoda tomare palaka boliya varana kare. I will never think of my own maintenance, but rather remain transported by a multitude of ecstasies, Bhakti Vinod accepts you as his only support. So this is a beautiful poem from the collection called as Sharanagati. Basically, Thakur Bhakti Vinod is reiterating an essential point that, my dear Lord, whatever is favorable, I will accept it. Whatever is unfavorable, I will give it up, for I have taken shelter of you. And now, you are responsible for all my welfare. And I have faith in you that you will definitely look after my welfare. So this essential lesson has to be learned. We have to give up our seeming foolishness that sometimes plagues young age. One should always be energetic and find youthful vigor in our lives. Even if one is old, one must find some youthful enthusiasm in our lives. However, one should be careful that along with this youthful energy, we should be careful that we do not allow arrogance to come in, or we do not allow distraction to come in. Because one of the fallouts of youthful energy is that let me try something different. Even though I know that it may not be very helpful, but let me try it out. Age-old wisdom always warns us against trying out that which may seem to be unfavorable. Wisdom of old age, or of born out of experience of having lived in this world, wants to keep you safe. Therefore, the title of today's talk was Human Nature. What is human nature? The human nature is that there is the idea of knowing what is right because of the experience that we have gained in this world, but then we do it anyway. Somehow or the other being fooled by the idea that we are still young enough to experiment with that which is unfavorable. So with age, one has to learn the art of taking shelter of Krishna and taking shelter of his holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we'll stop here. Are there any questions or comments?
Devotees, please go ahead if you have any comments or questions, Prabhuji. Just a few more minutes.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. It was so practical and so many nice lessons to the stories, that we can remember. Generally, when we hear lectures, we're impressed, we get the philosophy, but then afterwards we forget. But these are so practical and in such simple stories that we can always remember and apply it to our lives. So thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. So can we stop?
Anybody else? Prabhuji, 1 second. If anybody else, Vijay Prabhu, anybody?
Prabhuji, are you back in US or you are in India?
I'm on Zoom.
No. You cannot take a lot of trips. So I'm just asking if you're around in California.
No, I'm not in California, and I don't think so. I'll be there for a couple of months, at least.
Okay. Yeah, please come to our place this time, Prabhuji. Bless us.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Which Berkeley or which area, Prabhu?
Berkeley, yeah. We are 20 minutes from Berkeley Temple.
Yes, so you have to make a permanent invitation to Prabhuji to come there whenever.
Yeah. I'll talk to temple person as well. See But whatever we gotta do, we'll do.
Thank you so much.
So before Prabhuji goes, you have to practice whatever Prabhuji told. Prabhuji, are you done, Ras Prabhu?
Yeah, I'm good, Prabhuji. Thank you. Thank you for enlightening. And I have very similar comment that other Mataji just said.
So Prabhuji, my question is, we make mistakes, or we get, even if we grow with the age and learn something, we still get lost. But when you are being tested, how do you know that you are being tested and you should have faith on Krishna? That's something.
Sorry, is there something more you want to add?
Yeah, no, I don't, but it's very difficult sometimes to just distinguish whether something is going wrong with your sadhana, or you are being tested, or why you are put into such type of situation. It's sometimes very difficult to understand. While you understand, it could be whatever Krishna does, that's the bottom line. That's good for us, but being human, sometimes it becomes hard to understand and digest and tolerate. Certain things goes over the head. Nothing against Krishna or devotees or anybody, but the situation, even if we know, as you said, still mind doesn't accept it. Why such true lessons or difficulties?
So there
I
are
don't know whether I...
two parts that to your question, as far as I can understand. One is, how do we understand whether it's a test and stay focused in Krishna consciousness, taking shelter of Krishna. And the second part is, I kind of lost that somehow. Okay. All right.
Basically, that is the thing.
Yeah, I think that was the essence of your question. There was a second part to it too, and I had something to speak about it, but then I lost the train of thought. So coming to that question, what is important is to understand that once we take shelter, then the especially if we take shelter of someone very powerful, then the nature of the powerful person is to also accept that responsibility. It takes it is a lot of practice. It takes a lot of practice to be able to take shelter.
Yeah.
One of the symptoms of taking shelter is that one does not really wonder whether there is a test or there is no test. One does not wonder about it. One simply goes on performing one's practical activities in service of Krishna, devotional service. Oh, I got back my train of thought again, so I'll speak about that too. So, so one of the symptoms, as I said, of being in shelter is that one does not worry about the nature of the situation or the consequences of the situation. For example, let's say that one is in a downpour and suddenly one finds shelter under a roof. Then one does not worry about the nature of the downpour, that, how dangerous is it, or because one has found shelter, so now one feels peaceful, one feels pacified, although it may still be raining very hard. And nor does one worry about the consequences, because we are out of the rain, so there are no consequences in that sense in shelter. So that is very important. One having taken shelter now, one understands that Krishna will also play his part, because that is what shelter means. So that is faith. So test or no test, we realize that ultimately Krishna is doing the best for us. The second thing that came to my mind was, you asked, how do we know to know something, we should be able to understand it, or in more simple terms, we should be able to see it. Vision is very important, either through physical eyes or through the eyes of knowledge, vision. So how do we understand? As by proper vision. And it has been explained that just as we have two eyes which help us see a broad range of, it increases the range of vision because we have two eyes as humans. Similarly, for someone who is practicing Krishna conscious spiritual life, the two eyes are, one is the eyes of in the form of scriptures. One sees or understands through the teachings of the scriptures. And the second eye is the teachings explained by self-realized souls. So when we have these two aspects of understanding, scriptural understanding and the teachings of self-realized souls, their realization about the scriptures, then one can have better vision, one can have proper vision. So one should try and take shelter of the devotees of the Lord, and one should try to take shelter of, or we should take shelter of people with who are very evolved spiritually, and we should take shelter of the time-tested teachings of the scriptures. Is that all right?
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji, so much. Anybody else? This is a last call. So anybody has anything to comment or any questions? So thank you, Prabhuji. I think.
Thank you so very much. Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.